Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the mildly interesting video, and it's just me sitting here with my good old friend, Wholesome Magical Girl Show. I just can't wait to just watch you right now for a good hearty dose of 7.7 or above on IMDb. Ah! The magical girl genre is often associated with kind of being lighthearted in a way. I mean, this stuff is targeted towards younger kids. You can't feed them anything dark like Game of Thrones or Arcane. You can't do that. And because these shows are being targeted at young kids, they often have these empowering messages like, you can beat anything, you could do anything with the power of love and friendship as long as you're working together with your friends, or as long as you're working together in a team, or as long as there's someone that you love, you will always find a way. Where there is a will, there is a way. That is a really good message to teach to kids, to just tell them that, no, nothing is impossible as long as you're working with other people. That is honestly a great message, and as a result, these shows tend to be lighthearted in a way. I mean, sure, Sailor Moon does have its dark moments, but for the most part, it's literally just shopping with a side of interstellar war. But then you know how things can be, accidents do happen sometimes. Enter Madoka Magica, a show that everyone dismissed as a Sailor Moon ripoff when it first aired in 2011, only for it to gradually turn into one of the highest rated animes at that time. And after watching it around last year, I loved the show. It is absolutely amazing. The story that's able to tell in just 12 episodes, honestly amazing. And the character development is really good. Top that with unique visuals and unique soundtrack, and it becomes one of the most unique, most memorable animes I have ever watched. And the plot is actually on a similar level as what I would consider Netflix's best show so far, Dark. So yeah, I really do love this show. It's pretty fun. And you know what? I'm not going to try to hide it anymore. Madoka Magica is a dark take on the Magical Girl series. I am not going to try to hide that anymore. I'm pretty sure at this point, everyone knows it. But I will say this. However dark you think the show gets, it will get darker. So, there is that. First off, the visuals. They are so unique. I have never seen this kind of coloring before, or maybe that's just me not watching that many anime. But the one thing that really makes this art style more unique, if not better, is the scrapbook elements. There's like real world elements like placed into it, like hand silhouettes and like scrapbook elements. I said that before, I know this, but I don't think I've ever seen another anime incorporating real life elements into it besides Bocce the Rock and Bakemonogatari. Yes, I watched Bakemonogatari, and oh my goodness, that was quite an experience. But other than those two animes, I have never seen another anime show incorporate real life elements into it, especially in this trippy way. It kind of feels like the Midnight Gospel got mixed up with Interstellar War. Honestly, I love it. It's really unique, it's really fun, so it's always fresh, it never feels stale in a way. Once again, because of all of those real-life elements thrown into the mix, especially the scrapbook elements. And the colors blend with each other incredibly well. The greens actually feel natural, the blues feel natural, and in the closed spaces that the witches create, the colors really feel fitting. It really fits the setting that they're trying to tell in a way. I can't really pick my words as well. The point I want to make is the visuals are incredibly unique. I absolutely love them personally. Part 2, the audio. I'm not a huge fan of the opening personally, but the soundtrack works pretty well. It's actually also pretty unique. There's like a lot of cool voices I remember from the soundtrack, and it just like has like this weird melody to it. I don't really remember, like, I haven't rewatched the show in a long time, honestly. I haven't rewatched the show at all, but that's what I remember. These cool voices just like weaving in and out, and like these, it feels like there's an orchestra as this soundtrack, if I'm gonna be honest. And honestly, I think the fact that I'm able to remember the soundtrack this clearly, like specific elements of it after a year after I finished it, I think that's pretty impressive, and I think that makes the soundtrack even more unique. I don't know, I think I'll listen to the soundtrack even more on Spotify, and I think I'll like it again. Part 3, the characters. For something posing as a kid show, a magical girl show out of all things, these characters have surprisingly complex backstories. Like, Sailor Moon works fine, but Madoka Magica, like, it just feels so much better knowing these backstories of the characters and knowing why do they do things the way they do. And while every single backstory is in a way tragic, I would say the ones that I love the most are both Kyoko and Homura. Those girls have especially tragic backstories. The plot, oh my goodness, I love it. Okay, so let me bring up the concept of the show. So here there are two junior high school girls, Madoka and Sayaka. They're just living out their normal lives, just listening to music, stopping by to eat some food, going into school, you know, the regular shenanigans that a normal junior high school girl would do. Until one day, a mysterious white cat by the name of Kyubei comes up to them and offers them contracts to become magical girls. Here's how the contract works. Each girl will get one wish. They can literally wish for anything. They can wish for world domination, love, a 9-course banquet meal, although I don't think anyone will actually wish for that. And in return, Kyubei will grant them magical powers and they'll have to fight witches, these mysterious forces of evil that are terrorizing the planet Earth. However, a mysterious girl by the name of Homura is doing everything she can in her power to stop these girls from making the contract with Kyubei in the first place. And as the show progresses, these two girls are going to realize the true cost of being a magical girl, having to balance between a school life and fighting forces of evil that you can't even comprehend. Now, that concept to some of you may not seem that interesting, if I'm going to be honest. However, there are two words that pretty much keep the show interesting the entire way. Plot twists. The show adds so many plot twists throughout the runtime to make sure that it stays interesting. You're constantly on your toes. You're constantly wondering what is going to happen. Because by the time you get to episode 3, you realize, oh wait, this is real. This is actually real. Serious consequences can happen if you're becoming a magical girl. Fighting forces of evil when you're literally just 14. That's going to mess you up in some ways, either physically or mentally. It keeps you on your toes and you're constantly wondering what is going to happen with this future. And on top of that, there's already mystery behind Kyubei and Homura, so you're constantly wondering what are they doing? What do they truly want? Why is Kyubei so hell-bent on making Madoka a magical girl in the first place? What is so special about her? Like in Sailor Moon, it turns out Usagi Tsukino was but there's nothing special about Madoka that we learn about so far. But once you get to the final season and all the puzzles come together, you're just mind blown. Every single piece of the puzzle makes sense with each other. It all fits. And because of the nature of the plot, it has insane rewatch value. Just constantly looking back at all the things the characters are doing, and you realize, oh, so that's why. That is what is so amazing to me about the plot. And it's really similar in a way to a time travel show called Dark on Netflix. You've probably never heard of it. I've seen a couple of people call it the Stranger Things 2.0. Now, I have personally watched all 3 seasons of the show. I completed everything. And I can safely say, Madoka Magica could be on the same level as Dark. Sure, it's on a lower level because it only has 1 season to tell its story. But for 1 season, the story it tells is honestly amazing. It's fascinating, it's complex. It feels like the same level of complexity as Game of Thrones. And this is coming from someone who has not watched Game of Thrones ever. Not even a single episode. But the plot is absolutely amazing, especially considering the fact that they're telling all of this in 12 episodes. That is honestly amazing. I love this show a lot. So yeah, it should be no surprise, I absolutely love Madoka Magica. The visuals are incredibly trippy, yet so unique and so good at the same time. The audio works really well and ties in with the plot that's happening right now and the visuals that are happening. The characters have really good backstories and everything they do is feel normal. And the plot is incredibly complex for a 12-episode anime. I love this show a lot, and I even make my own little makeshift soul gem, which is one of the things that they have in the show. And I'm not a monster. I'm gonna be treating this merch kindly. I'm gonna be treating it properly. I probably should have expected better.